Michael. How are you?
Good, Aaron. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. I'm so happy that you were able to join me today. I'm really appreciative of it.
Thank you. And likewise. And by the way, congratulations on winning that MLK award. That's amazing news.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm still kind of like it's really humbling. So I appreciate that they thought
Absolutely.
enough, yeah, to nominate me. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Okay, so I am really excited. As I told you, we have a new background. I just want to talk about that real quick. I'm really excited about it because I figured out this is something that we can do, and it really just kind of brings some more light to already what I'm trying to do. So I'm really happy that you were able to test this out with me. So I'm going to have you just kind of introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the Q&As.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Michael Westendorf. I edit Chemical City Paper in Midland, Michigan. We're a nonprofit news organization covering local government, education, business, and the arts here in Midland.
Awesome, awesome. Well, again, thank you so much, and I really do enjoy reading your articles as well.
Thank you.
I like how you stay pretty neutral for the most part. I like
Yeah.
that. Sometimes you can read stuff and it's like you can clearly tell which direction they're going. So I like that a lot of your articles are pretty neutral and you just like to just kind of deliver, facts and just information. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. We try our best on that. And I like one of the things you said there. It said you didn't know which ways you didn't know which way I lean or whoever's writing the story leans, and that's pretty much the goal with readers is you don't want them to be able to guess which way you're leaning.
Yeah, it's so hard. I mean I would imagine it's hard because I try to stay pretty neutral myself so that
Right.
I can just kind of really hear from people in an authentic way. And it can be hard sometimes to really kind of stay neutral for the most part when when you're really passionate about something.
Yeah. Well, actually, you just actually brought up another thing I was going to. Usually, that works when you put dispassionate reporters uh, on the story. So if you have somebody who's really big into politics, you really don't want them writing about politics. You want them writing about something like arts, and then vice versa.
Oh, that
That
makes
way, it's
sense.
not bringing into the story an agenda or a particular heavy leaning.
Oh, that makes sense. I didn't even think about it that way. So that makes perfect sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. So let's get to some questions.
sure.
So my first question to you is what's something you wish you would have known at the beginning of your career?
Okay. Honestly, probably the value of building relationships.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And that's not really a lesson I learned until probably the latter half of me starting to um, get into journalism. And even though I did benefit from good relationships the whole time, um, I just feel like that's not something I really paid attention to until the last half. It can carry you. It helps differentiate between the people who quote unquote don't care and the people who do care. And I
That
think
makes sense.
if you try your best to be one of the people who do care, those relationships will blossom and you'll be rewarded not just in business but also in life and friendship.
No, that's true. That's true. Thank you for sharing that. I guess I never thought about that. I mean, that makes perfect sense to build those relationships, especially when you possibly could be covering that person or an event that they're doing. It's
Yeah.
nice to have that type of connection prior to, right?
And I feel like, when we talk about our careers, a lot of times we focus on transactions over relationships. And I think
Mm,
if you try to flip that as best you can, things will go a lot better for you. The transactions will come from the relationships.
which is so true. Our next question for you is what's one thing you would tell your younger self?
The first thing that comes to mind is to buy Bitcoin.
I know a lot of people are saying that right now.
But to just give a more thoughtful answer, though, I would probably just tell myself to relax. Sometimes we
Mm.
get caught up in the day to day, and I think we might just fail to realize how good things are if we really slow down and just think about it overall. Now
That's
that's assuming things are going good all the time, but I
right.
think maybe just to relax and not get not don't live and die with the tiny ups and downs.
Mm,
which is, it's one thing to, it's easy to say, but
it
it's
is.
obviously more difficult to do or perform.
Very true, very true. It's a lot of things that when you look back, I mean, even 5 years ago, 2 years ago, even last year, it's things that you can look at and say, that really wasn't that big of a deal.
Oh, absolutely. I think we can do that all the time. It's just, it's hard to do it in the moment, but certainly
Yes.
looking back, there's several moments where I think we all could benefit from that perspective.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Yes, it's really self-talk. Like in that moment to say, you know what, wait a minute, this is really not that serious. Let's move on from this because really ultimately it is about how you deal with things. It's not really the situation. It's really about how you respond and how you deal with it for sure.
Yeah.
I had to learn that. Had to learn that. My next question for you is how have you intentionally showed up and helped to bring change in the world?
Ooh, I like that question because I like to think that that's what I'm doing with the city paper. We kind of have a different model for news.
Mhm.
It's the nonprofit model, and what that means is we don't really forget about the money, but it can't be the focus. So we don't have shareholders. Um, just by definition, we are owned by the community because there's nothing to buy.
Mm.
So the news that we focus on has to fulfill or seek to fulfill our mission. So it doesn't matter how much, it doesn't matter what the quarterly figures are. Uh, this time around, how bad are we? How bad do we need to satisfy shareholder concerns, like you see at for-profit media?
Sure.
We just focus on what we think is benefiting the community.
Mm.
Um, and I think that that's what the world needs more of in journalism, to be honest. You
Yeah.
see a lot of communities now that either are no newspaper communities or one newspaper communities when there used to be two newspaper communities. So there's not really a competition for informing the community. It's more of a competition for ad revenues, and I think that the community suffers when that happens. And I'm just trying to, with the city paper, we're trying to do our level best at uh, kind of making sure that we're just kind of mitigate that, trying to make sure that communities are more well informed. People want us at the school board meetings. They want us at the city council meetings. They want us at the county commission meetings, and they want to know what's that new building on the corner of so and so street. They're not really looking to know, national news. I mean, they are, but that's not what community newspapers are for. They need to be grounded in what's going on in their communities. And I think that we're seeing more and more local, for-profit local newspapers get more national coverage, and it's a chase for ad dollars, sensational headlines, because those headlines are driven by the need for that revenue
Yeah.
instead for articles that focus more on what the community wants. That's
Yeah.
been a long answer, but uh,
No.
that's just, that's what I think of um, in terms of showing up and helping to bring change. Might not be for the world, but for my community, I think for sure.
But that's the beauty of it, and that's how I see things when I think about the world. It's a domino effect. It's a ripple effect, right? So what you do within your community, your
Yeah.
small part of the world, it does impact the world in my eyes. It does have a ripple effect. You all do that. I will say. I mean, I've read numerous articles from your newspaper, and it does give a lot of information, local information, community information. But again, I do like how it's just kind of neutral news. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes
Thank
people
you.
miss that. Yeah,
Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that very much. We
yeah,
try our
yeah.
best.
It's hard. It's so much stuff that has been politicized these days and
Right,
just like,
right.
just kind of blown up. So it's really hard to inform without people saying, well, you're leaning to the left or you're leaning to
Yeah,
the right. It's like, no, I'm just telling you this is actually what's going on.
exactly. And I think the model helps because we're not running for dollars. And even if we were, I mean, it wouldn't go anywhere because we are a nonprofit. So without shareholders or without me owning the paper, if I wanted to write for dollars, I'd just be uh, working super hard to do something unethical for no good reason because I couldn't spend the money. So
Yeah,
the model really does work when if you don't write for dollars, you write for what fulfills your mission and what makes community better. I think over time that builds up into uh, something like you're seeing, a force for good.
it's something that people can respect. I think that people across the world, actually, especially across the nation, I know I've read, but across the world, I believe, have lost respect at times for
That's
news outlets, media outlets, because of that, chasing that. I mean, because some of the stories, it's like, did that really have to be spun that way? I mean, you know what I mean?
absolutely
Yeah,
whatever brings the most eyeballs and the most clicks.
yeah,
And
it's so unfortunate.
the model just it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many clicks we get. Doesn't matter how many eyeballs we get. All that matters is what we're saying true, and then is what we're saying benefiting the community. Is this something the community needs to know?
Right, right. No, and I like that. I don't want to stay on this too long, but
Yeah,
I'm really passionate about this because I'm really passionate about truth and neutral news in a sense of just, sometimes stating the facts and not this is like you said, everything being so sensationalized, 'Cause I know for myself there were several even going back to 2020, there were several protests, rallies, whatever you want to call them, that I was at personally. And some of the stuff they said happened didn't never happen. And it's like, but I learned that by saying that certain things happen from both sides. Like they would sometimes make it seem like, uh white nationalists came and stirred up something. It's like,
yep.
where was that at? No one, there was no beef or any type of like war going on, or on the other side of, people who were the protesters. So it was this thing that sometimes it's like that literally didn't happen. So that was kind of disheartening because it's so discourse where it didn't have to be. I mean, we already have enough discourse on our own. We don't
Yep.
have to add to it and make up stuff. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah, so I really do respect outlets that just try to stay, neutral and just kind of report the news, what's actually happening. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes. So this is a question that I always like because I have so many answers to this myself. But what's a lesson you learned that you didn't understand at the time, but you do now?
That's a great question. I think what comes to mind first is, and I actually did have to learn this lesson because everyone thinks this is a cliche line, but probably the value of peace of mind over money.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
I used to be a stockbroker. It was very fast paced, very stressful, a lot of money, but my lord, it is not that important. And I know everyone says that, but until you're in it,
Yeah.
um, uh, I needed to focus on something that brought me more peace of mind, and I mean, I'm not saying this is a cheesy plug, but and something that I thought would be more helpful to my community. So
Yeah.
we had these things called best month evers. I got one, and I remember thinking I was so tired. I remember thinking I got to do this again. It doesn't matter. It just didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in that culture, that is all that mattered, and it just wasn't for me. So it's just a lesson I learned. Even though it's a cheesy line and or cliche line, and everybody thinks they know it, I experienced it, and so now I think I have a better grasp on that whole thing. So that's really something. That's really a lesson that I learned, uh, but I didn't understand at the time until I could experience it and look back on it.
No, yeah, I know a lot of people that talk about, how when they had all this wealth or, different luxurious things, how it still didn't bring them joy. And how it's just not that important. And I truly believe in that. I truly believe in, like you said, chasing and going after and investing your time and energy in things that truly make you happy. And
Yep.
now I will say, I keep saying I don't mind having a little extra money to see if I can balance that or not.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, I really do. I do believe when you follow your heart and passion, the other stuff will come. Because I tell my children all the
Yep.
time, I said, money comes and goes. I mean, it literally comes and goes. But like you said, peace of mind, integrity goes a long way.
Yep. Having a sense of purpose and just not having finances be the um the central focus of everything you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that driving force, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So my last question for you is if you had some words of encouragement to leave with us, what would they be?
I would say if you are not comfortable, then you are actually growing.
Ooh,
I
that's
think,
good.
yeah, well, thank you. I think the situations which put us on guard and uncomfortable, generally speaking, are the situations in which we progress the most as individuals.
Mm,
And I think, like, for instance, I can look back at things that made me uncomfortable, certain situations, experiences, places I was nervous around, or things that I was nervous to do, or just plain old uncomfortable. When I was done with those experiences, I was a better person. I had more
mm,
growth. Um, uh, I just think that that's something we need to remember when we are a little scared to enter situations where we might be reluctant to do so just because of that fear.
mm.
There's something on the other side of that fear, and it's better than what's on. Usually it's better than what's on the side you're on right now.
Wow, I like that. Thank you. Thank you. Because it's so true. We pushing yourself past those fears and those healthy fears, not like fear of a person because they're,
Right.
nothing
Right.
those healthy fears. No, I like that because it's really true. It's really true. Because a lot of times that's insecurities, right? That we
Yeah.
battle. Yeah, yeah. So pushing past that, those insecurities and say, you know what? No, I got this. No, I can do this, and things are different because I know some people, are afraid to speak in public. That's
Yep.
never been a thing that was afraid of. But no matter how much I talk, I always have this like angst right before because it's like,
Yeah.
you
But
don't want to say the wrong thing. What'd you say?
I said, but after you speak, you probably feel pretty good.
Oh yeah, once I get going,
Oh yeah.
you gotta stop me. No, but seriously, I mean, it's like this thing where it's just that, well, because you don't want to mess up, you don't want to like walk in and trip. I mean, it's all that like really weird things that you get
Yep.
kind of anxious about. But like you said, once you're in that moment, it's like, oh, I got this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you for taking the time to come and talk with me today. And for people that don't know, I mean, you were on the live show too, on the
Yeah.
panel with that, and I really appreciate that too. That was really fun. So
It was very fun. Yes. Thank you.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. And um I'm just really happy that you got, you kind of have like a new career move, sort
Yeah.
of, right? I mean, because it's totally different than what you were doing, right?
Well, yeah, I've always been a law nerd, and one of the guys on my board is an attorney, and needed some help with his law firm, and I was very interested because I'm a law nerd. I don't know if I said that already.
No.
So I'm managing Triton Legal out of Bay City. We're a criminal defense law firm, but I
Oh,
still serve on
wow.
the board at the city paper, and I'm still the editor there, and I'm still continue to write. I'm just really enjoying doing two of the things I really like most. So very blessed and very lucky, and hopefully it lasts.
Yes, I was just about to say that's a blessing that when you can truly do what you enjoy and what you love and what you're passionate about, and also help people in the meantime. I mean, while you're doing that, what you love, you can help people. So that truly is a blessing. So, well, thank you so much for all your
Thank
contributing
you.
to our community.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, have a good evening.
You too, Aaron.
All right, bye.
Bye.